Hello, welcome to the Multiplayer Podcast. This is a video game podcast where we break down different multiplayer games each episode, talk about this week, and just goof around. I'm your host, Todd, and this week we're going to sail the seven seas with our friends Paul.
Hello, everyone.
Josh.
Arr, me mateys.
And this week we are talking about Sea of Thieves. If you haven't heard of Sea of Thieves, it's an open world pirate game where you can group up and see what it's like to become a pirate. Darr. Before we get too far, let's check in with Paul and Josh. How's it going?
It is going awesome. It's been a good week. Todd, Paul's not going to appreciate this very much, but you and I are getting back into Rocket League.
No.
Which has been amazing. You were out for a little while, and then I just kind of fell out because I didn't have anybody to play with for a little while. And then the other night you were like, hey, I know what we can play. And then you just kind of dangled that silence in front of me. And then you were like, Rocket League. And I think I was like 100% just instantly like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where you forget about it, like goes away. And then you're like, oh, it's one, like I own this game on Steam. Let's get into it. And then it's like riding a bike and like you're going to whiff the first couple aerials, but then like it's back to like what you know and you start doing well again. We actually won a ton of games.
We won a lot, which I think was one of the better parts of it. It's not like we got back into it and then lost like 8 matches in a row. I think we lost like 1 out of 6, maybe.
We banked up a ton of beginner's luck.
Yeah.
And then we just spent it all that night.
If you guys could see Paul's face right now, Paul is just so sad.
I really am. I'm going to have to brush up on some one-player gaming because Rocket League is a no-go for me, you guys. Sorry.
Ouch.
Paul was a good goalie, man. He doesn't want to admit it. We got Paul in a Rocket League in the very beginning, and we discovered very early that Paul made a very good goalie.
I'd always play that big van, and I would just sit back and try to play goalie.
Yeah.
The only thing I liked about Rocket League is that me, Josh, and our friend Andy played Rocket League first, and we would change our Steam profile names and pictures to have a common theme. And I remember we would do like Back to the Future characters. And I remember like I was Biff and they were like Marty and Doc. And I always thought that was kind of fun. But the actual gameplay, I had fun with it for a bit, but not a huge Rocket League fan.
I think it's funny you're going with the hockey goalie technique where you're just the biggest person in the smallest goal. And then it's just size. Like you're just trying to throw your weight.
I mean, if you're going to be a goalie, that's kind of the way to do it, right? Like just pick the biggest target. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. I mean, you're welcome to join us, but we know how you feel about that.
Yeah.
Since we've been playing Rocket League, what have you been up to this week,
have you
Paul?
seen, Todd, what we've driven him to? I saw what Paul was playing. So
what have you guys seen lately? What have you noticed?
We're going to let you tell us about this here to share it with the world, Paul. But since Todd and I have been playing Rocket League again, and we all know how Paul feels about it, we have noticed that Paul has been playing Cultist Simulator. So, Paul, why don't you explain that?
Okay, so Cultist Simulator is probably a game none of you have heard of. I was browsing the store a little bit, ran across it. It seemed kind of interesting. Like, I don't know. I love games that kind of go into like the occult or like weird religion type stuff in games. I really loved the interactive game The Council, and so I saw Cultist Simulator where basically the game has like these different areas of lore and you can create your own cult and you recruit people who you influence and they go from followers to believers to disciples, and you send them out to do like illegal activities and like burglarize homes to get you
as
gold.
All good cults should.
Yeah. They'll go out and find you like hitmen who will help you like make bombs to destroy your enemies, and you try to build this big cult following. It's a very strange game. It's pretty cheap on Steam, but it's kind of like card based. So it's like you'll get cards and you play them in different areas. It'll do some kind of action and give you some kind of response back, and it's a pretty fascinating game. In a weird way, Todd, it reminds me a little bit of RimWorld, which you and I have always played a lot.
Really?
Where RimWorld, you could do a million crazy things that you never saw coming. And in that sense, Cultist Simulator is kind of like that. Like, they don't teach you how to play the game. You just start like sliding cards into slots and you find out what happens. And like, I recruited my first guy and then I accidentally made him a prisoner and I locked him in my basement and he couldn't leave. And the next thing I knew, someone like wanted to pay me gold if I would give him up as like a blood sacrifice. And so like I did. I was like, all right, sure.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah. And I got like 12 gold out of it. So, it was well worth it.
That's amazing. Yeah, that seems very similar to RimWorld, where you don't know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're harvesting someone's kidney.
Yeah.
Because you can sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this game kind of has that. Like, they don't give you a tutorial. They just tell you in all the tips, just experiment, have fun, learn how the game works. And I've probably played maybe 15 hours, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. But it's a very funny game. And I do like that it's casual, so I can just hop in if you guys are in Rocket League, or if I'm waiting for your match to end, I can, just hop in and play a few minutes. What about you guys? What else is going on with you?
I've been playing Outer Wilds, which is kind of like a really cool like puzzle space exploration meets Groundhog Day. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. Yeah, so not to be confused with Outer Worlds, which is like the people that made Fallout.
I was about to say, I know what all those words mean individually, but I don't know right? what puzzle space exploration Groundhog Day means in a sentence.
You start off on a planet, and what's really cool. So this game, you have basically the world resets every 22 minutes. Every 22 minutes, the sun goes supernova and blows up everything. And then no matter where you are or what you were doing, you get obliterated. And then you wake up just like you do in the beginning of the game. And then you start all over. But each time you can explore, I think there's like, I don't know, like five different planets in the solar system, and you can fly to them pretty easy. And on each one, you discover clues that lead you to other things. So it kind of like just slowly builds on knowledge. And it's cool because there's parts of the game where if you knew about it from the very beginning, you could easily just go and do that, which is kind of neat because I love things where it's like it's right in front of you the whole time, but you didn't realize it until like the game pointed it out to you. But yeah, it's super cool.
It's kind of like the movie Edge of Tomorrow. Did you ever watch that one with Tom Cruise?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So you gain new knowledge, and you can get there quicker the next day. And
yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Get yourself further in your mission.
But it's been super fun, man. I love like good puzzle games. I don't know if you guys ever played The Witness, but it's kind of reminiscent of that, but not quite so hard in the puzzle aspect. But the space is cool. The controls. I mean, it's a super fun game. So I've been playing that and enjoying the heck out of that lately too.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, are you guys ready to talk about Sea of Thieves?
Oh, am I ever?
If you're going to make me talk about this game, sure.
I can walk the plank.
I feel like I'm the sour note in this podcast. Yeah, I don't want to be just like the negative Nelly, but let's do it, guys. Let's talk about Sea of Thieves. I'm stoked.
All right. So each week we review one game, and this week we're talking about Sea of Thieves. Let me read a quick review from the publishers, and then let's explore this game together. From Rare, Sea of Thieves offers essential pirate experience from sailing and fighting to exploring and looting, everything you need to live in the pirate life and become a legend in your own right. With no set roles, you have complete freedom to approach the world and other players however you choose. Whether you're voyaging as a group or sailing solo, you're bound to encounter other crews in the shared world adventure. But will they be friends or foes, and how will you respond?
None of them are going to be friends, I can tell you that. No one's friendly in this game. Come on.
I was going to say that the proper response is launch yourself onto their ship, drop their anchor, and then try to kill all of them.
And then burn it to the ground.
Yes, exactly. That is the proper response. But
okay, so I take some issue with that description. This game gives you everything you need to live as a pirate. This game's pretty limited in its scope.
You have grog. What more do you need?
You have beer. You have
a spyglass.
You have bananas. They thought about nutrition.
You have music. You can play music. Yeah. That's the pirate's life for me, man.
Everything you need.
That's all you need to be a pirate.
Yeah.
You have swords? Yeah, you have everything you need.
All right. I'll buy it.
That was enough to tell.
Poor Paul, man. Paul loves a lot of games, but this is gonna be a good difference of opinion here, because I think Todd and I mostly agree on this game, and I know Paul doesn't. So, but let's talk about the game a little bit.
Josh, go over gameplay and go over like kind of the very core aspect of what playing Sea of Thieves is.
Okay, so Sea of Thieves is a pirate open world game. I mean, this is probably one of the closest games to being an actual pirate that is out right now. It's a beautiful world. It's very cartoony in its graphics, but I mean, hands down, there's no other game that has as beautiful of like water, like ocean graphics as this game does. I mean, if nothing else, this game does it right when it comes to sailing on the ocean. But so you get quests. I mean, they are kind of mundane. You know, it's go find a treasure chest or go deliver these goods or go, find these chickens or something like that. And then bring them back to a certain port. And then you leave the island where you get your quests, you sail out on the seas, you go to wherever you're going, you hope to find the chest, and then you bring it back and you cash it in, you get gold. You can use that gold to upgrade your ship, upgrade your pirate. And by upgrades, I mean cosmetically only. That's one of the things I know Paul has a big exception on in this, is there's really no progression other than cosmetic progression. So we can get into that in a little bit, but things happen while you're sailing. I mean, I think that's one of the fun parts of the game, is that, they'll have ghost pirate ships that pop up out of nowhere and start attacking you. I think the highlight of sailing somewhere is when you do come across other players, because that's where the fun really gets going. And that's where the unknown starts to happen. So if you see a ship in the distance, it's another group of players playing the game. You can certainly try to sail towards them and attack them. Sea combat's a lot of fun in this game. But that is the kind of really top down. I mean, there's, cannon firing, there's ship to ship combat, there's land combat with swords and guns and stuff like that. Skeletons make up a large part of the NPCs and what you encounter on the islands.
Josh, you're leaving out 95% of what this game is, which is adjusting sails. Adjusting sails. That is 90% of this game, is moving sails left or right to match the wind and running down to look at the map because you don't know which way you're going.
I mean, you have a compass. Come on.
It feels like 90% of that is sailing directly into the wind.
Oh,
yes.
Where you're like,
terrible.
I don't know why I have sails. Like, we're sailing directly into the wind and we're just going super slow, but we have to go, west.
If we're being honest, I mean, this game is mostly a sailing simulator. And on rare occasion, you'll do something else. Like, the fun does happen when you run into other boats and other people. But the maps are so large and they're capped off. I might be wrong on this, but I think there's only a max of 4 ships on the map at one time. So the likelihood of actually running into another ship is pretty low.
But that's why if you really only want to battle other ships, they have a game mode for that.
Right.
That's true.
And like, we played that game mode and it was so much fun because it takes less than a minute to get to another ship, and then there might be 3 ships in the same ocean sea battle, which was so dang funny. I mean, the only like bad part of that is sometimes you sink super fast, so then you'd get caught between 2 ships, and then
you go down quick
immediately.
Then.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave a very brief kind of top down overview of what the gameplay loop is like. To me, the majority of fun of this game happens with shenanigans. The going and finding a treasure chest. Now, there's quests that you get. They've done a lot to kind of enhance this game since its release. They've added longer quests. They've added these kind of epic, tall tales, they call it, where it's like you have to, find clues, and one clue leads to another clue, and they're these kind of adventures almost. So I think they did a good job there. The main problem that I know Paul has with this is it becomes repetitive very quickly. The only reward that you really get, no matter what your mission is or what your quest is gold. And gold is used to buy cosmetic upgrades, but that is it. There's no character progression. There's no ship upgrades. There's nothing that gives you that feeling of I'm better now because we did this. And
right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I mean, I feel like that's like your main complaint with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is an open world and you make of it what you will. And sure, if you role play a little bit and you put into this game, you'll get more out of it. I agree with all that. But there's really no progression other than maybe upgrading the mast on your ship. Like, there's nothing that you're working toward. You do missions to get gold, which then lets you buy missions to make more gold. And like Josh highlighted earlier, the missions are literally go dig up this buried treasure or go find us some chickens. Like that's basically the end of the mission options. But really, if we can rewind a little further back, because if we're talking about like cosmetic upgrades to your character, do you guys remember the character creation in this game?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't get to build your character. They give you 5 randomized characters, and you have to click one or say, give me 5 more randomized. I remember spending, I'm not even joking, probably 30 to 35 minutes refreshing, trying to get a character that I thought either would look cool or look completely ridiculous. And I ended up landing on a bald 88-year-old grandma with no teeth.
With a mustache.
And I added the mustache later. That's a cosmetic upgrade. But it's like, this game didn't even let me create a character. Like, here's 5 randoms, and you have to keep clicking random a million times to get something that you think is serviceable. I mean, everything from the ground up with this game, I found to be pretty frustrating, to be honest. The first note that I jotted down for this podcast, general idea of the game, good, fun for about 8 minutes.
Ooh, that's harsh.
Fun for a couple hours.
Like, no, that's harsh too. Come on. All right.
Well, but I'm saying, like, you know, this is going to entertain me more than like a movie would.
Yes, definitely.
It depends on the movie.
So let's do this.
Get out of here.
So we've talked about the gameplay kind of loop. Paul obviously has some issues with it. Let's do this. Let's talk about what is good about the game, because I want to share some stories, because I think that's where some of the good from the game comes from. Like I said, shenanigans that happen while you're sailing or on the island, I think, are some of the better parts of the game. We can kind of get into what doesn't work too, but I don't know if Paul will have anything that he likes about this game. So why don't you start?
I'll be fair.
Okay, yeah, be fair.
Yeah,
Give us what do you think works with it? What do you like about it?
You know what I loved in this game? This might sound kind of crazy. I loved the ability to pull out an instrument and play goofy pirate songs. So, like, I don't even know the names of the instruments. There's 3 different ones. Initially, when we played at release, there were 2. Later, they added the drum. But one person can pull out an instrument and start playing it, and they'll play just that one line of the song. And then if someone else pulls out a different instrument, they automatically sync up. So you get like multiple instruments playing the same song. So you and your friends, if you've, pointed your ship, you're going in the right direction, you got to wait 8 minutes to get there. Let's just goof around, and you can just start playing music. And then what was so funny was when we learned that if you drink grog and then start playing your instrument, you sound like a drunk pirate trying to play that song. It's out of key. You're plucking the wrong strings. It sounds absolutely terrible. And there's nothing funnier to me than in this game, drinking a bunch of grog, trying to play music. And then eventually, if you keep drinking, you start vomiting all over your friends. Their screens turn green. And to me, that was probably the most fun in the game.
That leads to one of my favorite parts, is when one of your friends gets too drunk and starts vomiting all over the place, you can throw them in the brig. So it's just majority rules, like pirate rules. Like if 3 out of 4 people vote for one person to be put in the brig, like they get thrown into pirate jail and they just can't get out. Like you can be in the middle of a battle and they're going down with a ship. Like I remember one time one of our friends drowned because our ship was going under. And they were stuck in jail. So they died that way, which is, a little sad, but then like also very, very funny.
Yeah, to kind of feed off of that, I think this is why I pick on Paul a little bit, because I don't think I've heard Paul laugh quite so hard. We had a random, I think like fourth or fifth guy, and I guess it's groups of four. So we had a random fourth, and we voted to lock him in the brig. Mm-hmm. And we were all standing around getting drunk outside the jail until our pirates were vomiting. See,
yeah.
So one of us, I think it might have been Paul, discovered that if your character is vomiting and you're holding a bucket, that you'll actually vomit into the bucket. And now you have a bucket filled with vomit that you can do something with. And so we realized that we could throw the bucket of vomit on this guy that's in the brig. And then he can't see, this guy's going crazy. He's cracking up. Paul is dying. I think it's one of the hardest I've heard Paul laugh in a video game. I mean, just to discover that this is something that we could do. So, and that guy, he was a good sport about it, man. He the only way to get out of the brig is just quit the game at that point, or people can vote to let you out. Right. Yeah. So, but he stayed in that break for like a solid 20 minutes, man.
Yeah, we kept him in there a while.
Yeah, we really did, and he was cool with it. But we were throwing buckets of vomit on him, and isn't he the guy that drowned? I think we got into like a ship battle after all that, and then probably. It's just like I feel like this game is what you make of it. Like if all you're doing is trying to just point A to point B, grab the treasure, bring it back, get gold, I feel like it falls flat. If you are, let's sail here, let's make some fun along the way, and see what happens, I think it shines a little bit better in that aspect.
And I feel like the major gameplay mechanics is where it fails, but like all the little tiny things you can do in between is where like it really shines through.
100%.
I would agree, because the combat in this game is very frustrating because the weapons are so imprecise and they're very weak. So you can choose to have like a pistol or a blunderbuss or a sniper rifle, but the sniper rifle has what's the equivalent of maybe like a 2x scope with no crosshair. So the weapons are very weak.
Yeah. I mean, they're pirate weapons. Like,
yeah, it's like real old school pirate weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you get somebody that boards your ship and you're fighting, there's not a lot of technical skill involved in that, or at least not that I've found. I mean, it's literally just, mad left clicking as fast as you can, or trying to land the shot on them. I mean, I think you can survive a shot or two, maybe. Ship combat is exhilarating. It's a lot of fun. I mean, there's shenanigans that can happen there. You can launch yourself into a cannon and then have somebody shoot you. So I know that was a lot of fun for us, was like trying to land somebody on their ship. So we'd shoot Todd in a cannon towards them and try to get him close enough that he could actually board the ship. And, while we're firing cannons and distracting them and stuff like that. So I think that's one of the best parts of the game is the ship combat. And again, that's kind of what you make of it. If you're just launching cannonballs and that's it, it's not that great. But if you're, figuring out a way to get a guy over there and, their ship's starting to sink, so you're having to patch holes and bail water and stuff like that, it gets super chaotic, like very quickly. But, sinking an opponent's ship and having it sink and you remain sailing feels pretty darn good.
It's a major accomplishment.
Yeah. And like, there's a ton of different things you can do in this game. That's one of them, where you can see another ship like in the distance and then be like, oh, they might have a treasure chest. Let's run over there, see if we can rob those treasure chests off of their ship so we can take them and we can turn them in for points. You can, just do the regular quests, which feels very mundane. And then there's also like the fighting like a skeleton fort, essentially, which we did a few times, and that was pretty fun. The only hard part with that is someone else can also run up and then like essentially third party and kill us and kill the other skeletons, and then like now we're fighting, you know, 2 enemies. So there is like multiple things you can do in this game. It's just unfortunate that the majority of the time you're supposed to be like going to islands and digging up chests, and that's probably the least fun thing to do.
Yeah, and if we're still like talking about what works well with the game, one thing I was worried about is, well, what happens if you fall off the boat? Or what if you're fighting on another ship and that ship sinks? Like, how are you supposed to get back to your team? And they actually had a pretty clever mechanic for that. If you end up in the middle of the ocean, you just have to wait maybe 10 to 15 seconds and a mermaid pops up. You swim over to the mermaid. They'll teleport you back to the boat. So it's not like you're ever stuck apart from your team. It's very easy to get back together and fight as a group. And I did think that they handled that really well.
Yeah, the game's very user-friendly. I mean, I don't know if I don't want to call it dumbed down, you know, because I don't feel like it is, because there's some technical stuff there, but it's geared towards making the whole experience like easy for the player. Like you said, like getting back to your ship if it sinks or something like that, your ship just kind of respawns and there you are. There's no real sense of loss other than maybe if you had a treasure chest on your ship or something like that. So I think they do make it easy for the player, but I think that also comes like as a detriment sometimes.
Yeah. All right. So out of us, who played it best? Who played it worst?
We all know who played it worst. Just get it out of the way now.
I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say I'm the best captain. I feel like I drive the boat. I feel like I drive the boat better than anybody.
All right. So the hard thing, you know, this another aspect of gameplay. When you're actually at the steering wheel, you can't see.
Well, you're staring into the sail.
Yeah, the sail is right in front of your face. Right. So by steering, you mean you're good at turning the wheel, but when I'm steering, I'm like, "Hey guys, where am I going?" And then you're like, "Nah, you're fine." And then we run into like an island. And
that
then
was
it's
a
like,
test, Todd. That's why. It was really just a test
for me
of your captainship, and you failed.
Yeah,
which is why I'm the best captain.
You know what? I'll give it to Josh. Josh,
yes.
Josh is decent at steering. Josh,
I'll take it. That's good enough.
Yeah, terrible at everything else.
Wait, okay. Now let's talk about Paul's utter lack of adjusting the sails. You saw this the last time.
Oh, I adjust the sails all the time.
What?
I never take the wheel in the boat. You guys are always steering the boat. I always adjust the sails, and then there's nothing to do for 10 minutes. Why do you think I'm always running around drinking grog and not helping with anything else?
Yeah, so I'm not saying anything on your character, but if one of us was the drunken sailor who's playing music out of key, it's Paul.
It's definitely Paul. Oh,
I unquestionably play it the worst. I'm not going to debate that. I do think Todd plays it best. I'm going to vote for Todd.
Oh,
last time we played, this is recency bias. We were headed straight into an island. Josh is just staring at it, doesn't say anything. We don't drop the anchor in time, and we just literally just plow right into the island. I feel
trusted
like
my crew to know what was going on.
Todd is a very good communicator in video games. I'm going to give it to Todd.
Wait, can we vote for ourselves?
I voted for myself as captain. Sure you can.
Yeah, okay. I vote for myself. I changed my vote.
I vote for you as first mate, Todd. Todd, you're a great first mate.
I'm the assistant to the regional captain.
Yes, I'm the captain now.
I will give one thing to Josh. When I was trying to remember some of the funnier moments, Josh, when we first started playing, insisted that all of us use the legitimate nautical terms, which was so random and so funny to me, because we'd be coming up on a boat and Josh would be like, "Starboard side, cannons," and I'm like, "Starboard, left or right, Josh?" And he'd be like, "Starboard, you gotta learn your terms." And I would say like the first day was just me just being stubborn, saying, no, Josh, is it left or right? And then finally it stuck when Josh said, Port has 4 letters. Left has 4 letters.
Yes.
Port means left. And hey, I still know it.
You remember that now, right?
I remember it. Josh
remember.
taught me some nautical terms. But you were such a stickler for that in the beginning. I thought it was so funny.
I stuck with that for like the first 2 weeks of us playing that game. I would not change. You guys were like, what side is that?
Yeah.
It was so dang funny.
Yeah, that's funny. I forgot all about that. But now you know. Port is left.
Yeah, it's stuck. I still remember. I'll never forget.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
All right, let's switch gears and go through some of the reviews that we found and what other people thought of the game. Paul?
Yeah, I've got some good ones. So I have a couple reviews here. Although before I jump into the reviews, I wanted to read a preview that an executive from Rare gave before Sea of Thieves came out. All right, so stick with me here. Okay, so instead of users writing it after, this is one of the, workers at Rare. So he gave an interview to Xbox Magazine, and here's what he said. It's about allowing people to create their own gaming memories. It's about enabling people to create their own stories through limitless possibilities. Sea of Thieves is going to be the best game that Rare has ever made.
Ooh,
do you guys know what games Rare has made? They made GoldenEye. They did Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong Country, Battletoads. And this guy said, Sea of Thieves is their best game? What are you talking about? How can you hype the game like that?
In there?
Do you know what the interviewer said back?
Huh.
This is not a joke. Google it. Find this interview. It's linked on the Wikipedia page for Sea of Thieves. Yikes. That's what the interviewer said. He said, yikes. Talking about hyping up games, let's talk about this other one.
Dude,
I could not believe... How do you hype Sea of Thieves that much? Look, this game's fine. It is what it is. This game does not hold a candle anywhere near GoldenEye.
No,
Perfect
I was going to
Dark.
say, that's the first big error.
That is ridiculous. All right, so anyway, I ran across that preview. Thought I'd read that first. So I have a couple of reviews here. I had to pull them from the Xbox app since Sea of Thieves is made by Microsoft. You can't find it on Steam or Origin or anything like that. So the first review here that I have is a 3-star review. The game looks good. It's enjoyable to experience at least once. The missions are all kind of samey. The rewards are mostly cosmetic, which I guess is fine. Most MMOs are all about Mogs in the late game. This one just sort of skips right to only being about the Mogs. Game is definitely better with friends. Don't expect to meet anyone friendly in the game. It's entirely populated by murder hobos. Makes it pretty boring in my opinion.
That's a fair review. I'll give it that. That's quite fair. That's a good 3-star. I mean, it's an accurate description.
I've never met a murder hobo and went, not exciting.
Yeah.
No, they're very exciting when you come across one.
You gotta love those murder hobos.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the second review. 5 stars. This game is so much fun. I love it. However, buying it through the Microsoft Store is a pain. Microsoft makes everything so much harder. I mean, that's totally fair as well, right? How long did it take us to figure out how to make a party in this game on PC?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I feel like the same thing with like playing it on Xbox is probably easier, I imagine. But like on PC, you can't invite someone in the game. You have to exit the game, go through the Xbox or Microsoft like client, and then group up in a party. And then you can go back in the game and it'll be like, did you mean to group up? And then you're like, yes, like that's literally what I clicked on. And then it would put you in the group.
And there's like the Xbox app, Xbox console on PC, and they all kind of like do the same thing. You can create a party in different ones, and some of them are right, other ones aren't. I mean, I do agree, Microsoft did not make this game terribly easy to play.
And it's the same thing, like if I remember correctly, Xbox had this thing where you could create a party on like 360, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're playing with your friends. It's just you're all in the same like voice group.
Like a chat party, yeah.
Yeah, and like that, like there was a lot of things reminiscent of that where it's like, all right, I don't know if what I'm doing is just being in the same like area so we can talk to each other, or if like I'm trying to play the game with this person. While I think with Steam, it's way easier. Like you can hit a shortcut from in-game. Like Josh and I are playing Rocket League, and I can hit, a quick couple keys, pull it up, invite Josh, and then he immediately gets the notification and he's in without ever leaving Rocket League.
It's much, much more intuitive. Microsoft doesn't get it.
There's no overlay in Sea of Thieves like you get with Steam or Origin or one of these others. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a funny review focusing on just like the mechanics of just trying to get into the game. And then the last review here I thought was the most representative of what this game is like. It's a 2-star review. I started the game for the first time. I had no idea what was going on. I joined with 2 other players. All of a sudden, I'm teleported without explanation to a cage inside a ship. The other 2 players in the session start jumping around, pointing their spy glasses at me, ? Okay, start a new game by myself this time. Still don't know what to do. I spot another player who starts following me, then walking in front of me and dancing. I quit a few minutes later because I can see where this is going. 2 stars for nice art style, I guess.
Wow, this guy just hates dancing.
I mean, this game is very much about trolling people and goofing off. I mean, this game I do think would be tough. That would be a really bad first impression if you got thrown right in the brick.
And honestly, even for us, like we did that to a guy, like where we just threw him in the break because it was funny. And playing this game solo without at least one other person would be difficult.
This is definitely not a solo multiplayer type game. This is a game you need friends to play. Like, even if you join rando dudes, you're not going to have nearly as good a time as if you're playing with people you know and have like an actual group of friends to experience it with.
And like we said that for Apex, but I feel like this is like way, way more intense. Like if you're the only one playing this game, I would not recommend it. If you have friends, like I could recommend it.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. So I do have the average review score through the Xbox app. So that's where we pulled this from. So Xbox users can rate games from a scale of 0 to 5. And so I have my guess written down. What average rating do you think Sea of Thieves has through the Xbox app?
Are they just rounded numbers or are they decimals?
Decimals. So, closest 10th.
3.7.
Right. I'm going lower than that. I was going to go 2.5 stars, but I might go slightly higher than that. So 2.7.
All right. My guess was 3.5 and the actual is 4.0.
Yes!
Really?
Josh won. So we're all.
It's the first time, baby. Yeah.
We are all one and one. We've all been closest once. But yeah, 4.0. I was shocked. Now, when you do look at the reviews, people can rate the game without leaving a review. But if you sort the reviews, they are all 5s or 1s. There is nothing in the middle. Almost every review is so extreme. But I was kind of shocked. 4.0 wins out. I think there's just a very big, loyal fan base that loves playing this game. And I think you'll either find out that you really love it or you really hate it, and you'll probably figure that out very quickly.
I agree. I think it's divisive. Like, I agree. It's you either really like it or you're like Paul and you're just like, I don't get the hype on this game at all.
Yeah, I think when we decided to do this for the podcast, I remember being like, oh yeah, let's hop on and do some gaming. And you guys were like, yeah, we're loading up Sea of Thieves. I'm pretty sure I audibly sighed.
Oh, you did? Absolutely.
All right. I'm loading it up. Give me a minute. I was not too happy.
No, you were definitely a sad pirate. Oh, what is that?
You guys hear that jazz?
I hear that jazz, Todd.
All right.
The time is what I think it is?
Oh, it's
yes.
that time.
It's time for Make Love, Marry, or Murder. So, all right. Like, we have 3 choices. Sea of Thieves, would you like to make love, marry, or murder this game?
Paul?
You want to get mine out of the way?
I was going to say,
we all
get
know
Paul's
what's coming.
Yeah, all right.
Murder.
Ouch.
Kill it. I never want to see it again.
Wow.
Dead and buried.
I was going to say, that's buried under the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's
Josh.
surprise you guys. I am going to murder this game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo!
Don't get
Murder
me
it.
wrong. As much as I pick on Paul, this is a very fun game for a very limited time. If you have a group of friends that like to have fun and goof around and laugh and joke and troll each other, this game can be great. It can have some very high moments. But as an overall video game, as an overall multiplayer game, I think it's just got way too many failings. It's the gameplay loop is very monotonous and mundane. And it's a beautiful, beautiful game, and I love the water. But that ain't enough, buddy. So I'm going to murder it with you, Paul.
All right.
We can tag team it.
A buddy of mine once said, this is the best game Rare has ever made.
Your good friend.
Yeah.
So I am going to make murder.
Make murder.
It's fine for a little bit. Like, there are a lot of very, very funny moments. There is a lot of enjoyment you can pull out of this game, but it's not sustainable. If you actually had to buy this game, I would not buy this game. We'll get into that in the next segment, but yeah, I'm gonna just triple murder.
That's a unanimous murdering. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I mean, being a pirate is fun. Goofing with your friends is fun. I just feel like once you actually get in there, I feel like when they said it's going to be an open world where you make your own game, to me that means we're not giving you any creative quests. We're not going to creatively guide you anywhere. Just here's an open world and be happy about it. And to me, that was just a little weak.
Right. Like, there's zero progression. Like, even in Rainbow Six, like, there's a little bit of progression with unlocking other operators.
Yeah.
But like with this game, there's zero progression, and you feel it. Like, there's no reason to do a mission.
But that's the thing. They said they didn't want unfair.
But you can balance that. You can balance that with, like, all right, here's a ship that is super fast, but it hits lightly. And then, like, here's a ship that is super, super heavy, but it hits hard.
Yeah.
So, like, one of them doesn't have an advantage over the other, but you get to unlock what you like playing.
Right.
Just give us fun, cosmetic things to unlock. Like, let me unlock more songs to play on my little, guitar. It doesn't all have to be, old-timey pirate songs. I don't know. Throw in, like, modern songs and let me buy them with gold. Something that I can have fun with. Give me, more dance moves, whatever. But it's just like, buy a mustache or buy a peg leg. Like, there's not much.
I feel like that kind of just pushes the problem like a little bit later, because it's like kind of fun and gimmicky to have that, but like at the core of it, the progression is rough, and there's really no reason, or like there is no progression in it. Outside of like, oh, here's a harder map with more treasure chests to pull up.
So what would you pay for this game? Like, if somebody was gonna buy it, what is the price point that you think it's
for
worth?
just this game?
Yeah, for just the game.
Do you want to tell them how much this game costs?
$1 if you sign up for the Game Pass.
we all paid $1.
I think it's $39. I think the actual purchase price is $39.99, right? I'll start off. I'll say, I think $10. $10, you get your money's worth, you have fun, and then when it starts to suck, you don't feel bad about the $10.
I think $10 is a little high.
Oh, come on. That's the price of a movie. You're going to get 2 hours worth of entertainment out of this.
All right. I'll give you $10. I would pay $10 for this if other people paid $10 for this.
Okay, fair point. Because if you were by yourself, that's a wasted $10.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this game is $49.99.
Ooh. Yeah,
Really?
don't do it.
It was $60 at release. This game is not a $60 game. I know Rare is a big AAA developer. This is not a AAA game. This game feels like, I'd say maybe $10. There's no way I'd ever pay $40 or $50 for this game.
You know what? Honestly, this day and age, I wouldn't buy just this game. I'd buy the Xbox Game Pass. I'd play it with other friends, and then I'd play Age of Empires or Halo or any of the other games on there, probably more than I would Sea of Thieves, but I think it's definitely worth waiting the 10 minutes to download Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, it's worth the experience if you're not paying a lot for it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, it's time. Let's go to Leaderboard and see where this game stacks up. So far, we have Apex Legends as 1, GTFO as 2, and then Sea of Thieves as 3.
It's got to be third.
I was going to say, big shocker.
Yeah.
for those that couldn't figure it out, I'm officially sticking this in last place for now.
Yeah, GTFO has more fun progression. It's a better party game, playing with your friends. It's much more memorable. I got to put Sea of Thieves third. I completely agree.
See, that's an interesting comparison because, all right, GTFO, Sea of Thieves, like completely different games on like every piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
But GTFO, you don't unlock new weapons. You don't unlock new characters. You're stuck with the same thing from the beginning to the end. Like no matter how many levels or how little levels. Sea of Thieves was trying to do that. GTFO did a good job with, like, instead of unlocking weapons or anything, you unlock levels, and each level is very, very, very different from each other.
Yeah, so you still have that sense of progression. That is the progression. You have something to progress, whereas with Sea of Thieves, you have nothing.
Right, and it being open world and all those other things being consistent, like it just feels like no progression. All right, well, that wraps up the Leaderboard segment for our show today. If you want to view all of our rankings, you can find them on our site at multiplayerpodcast.com. It was fun hanging out this week, and if you're interested in more multiplayer podcast content, don't forget to subscribe to the Multiplayer Podcast on your podcasting app. Stay up to date by connecting with us on Twitter at MultiplayerPod and Instagram at MultiplayerPodcasts. Next week, we're going to take a look at Rust.
Yeah,
Josh,
Rust.
Yes!
Do you want to give us a sneak peek on what Rust is all about?
Oh, do I ever. This is a game we're all going to agree on. But Rust is the pinnacle of open world survival games. I mean, you gather materials, you research blueprints, you get weapons, you murk every single living person you come across. You get ganked by naked dudes, blasted in the face by door campers, and have the time of your life. Rust is the abusive relationship you never knew you wanted, and we'll dive into the glorious madness on next week's show.
See you guys next week.
See ya. That was
Shiver
bad.
me timbers.
What a bad one. Oh, no. All right, see you guys.
See ya.